Welcome to Ask Hypnotica 52. This segment is all about you pleasuring you. That's right, we're talking about masturbation. Fapping. That's the new word, fap. I never heard that. I didn't have that word growing up. It was just called jerking off. All right, but they have this new word, no fapping. All right, like think of Gandalf. Thou shalt not fap. Boom. All right, fapping. I guess that's the sound it makes, like pap, 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 pap. Okay, but hey, if you're listening to the sound of the fap and you're not listening or watching the voices or the images in your mind, you're concentrating on the wrong thing. I don't want to be listening to, like, what's it sound like when I jerk off? Fap, 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 fap. You're concentrating on the wrong thing, dude. Focus, focus. Okay, that's what the images and the movies in your head are for. I actually have these things in my mind. It goes through all my experiences. I call it the Rolodex, like the Rolodex. You know, different characters, like different times. I can flash back, and man, it's my Rolodex is hot. It's pretty cool. Anyways, so let's get into it. Hey, Eric, how are you doing? I hope you're doing well. First of all, a big thank you for sharing your valuable insights and knowledge through videos. Really appreciate your honesty and no bullshit approach. It helps me see things for what they are and not what I think about them. More power to you. I'll take it. Give me more power. More power. Rawr. All right. Not that kind of power, though. All right. Anyways, I was hoping you would be kind to share your wisdom on one issue that he has been facing, masturbation. It's like kind of like a boxing match. He's like facing masturbation. He's got this, like, his hands are up like this and the other hands are like this or like this, depending on how big you are. Anyways, here we go. Okay. I have tried to quit masturbation a lot of times, but I can only control myself for 3 or 4 days, and then I feel this energy building inside me, and then I have to give in and masturbate. I feel very guilty afterwards. Is there any way I can channel, control, harness this energy? And please shed some light on masturbation, relation to energy, health in women. Looking forward to your insights, Jack from India. It's kind of a strange name for India, Jack. I don't know. I've never met a Jack from India. Jack off. Anyway, well, let's kind of break down your question here a little bit. All right. It's kind of funny. This question is actually kind of funny. Like, I've tried to quit masturbation, but I can only control myself for 3 or 4 days. It's like, you ever heard like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? This is like Dr. Jack Awful. Listen, it's not about controlling yourself. It's about really utilizing your own energy and noticing how to channel that energy. Listen, if you don't have any creative output, if you don't have any creative insight or ways to channel this energy, it's just going to build up. It's going to build up inside, and all of a sudden, like, the pressure and the energy and all that tension has nothing to do. So you just want to explode. It's kind of like women. I do the same thing to women. This is one of my little techniques. If you've went through my sex technique program called Modern Day Sexual Man, where maybe I didn't put this one in there. Maybe I did. Okay. Well, they're on top of you. Okay. And you hold down their arms and you don't let them move. Okay. And then you do the slight motions. And all of a sudden you're building up that energy inside. Now, women like to dissipate their energies. They like to move around and shit like this and make noises and stuff like that because it's dissipating. It's allowing the energy to move through. But imagine if you're just like stuck there and all of a sudden you can't move and the energy is building. It's like kind of shaking like a Coke can. Okay. You're just doing it. It's building up, and then explodes all over you. That's what White Tiger Tantra is about. If you want to learn how to squirt, it's a good place to go. Anyways, it's useful for people. It's kind of more like a novelty. I gave up on that a long time ago because I got really tired of squeezing out my pillows and ruining my beds and stuff like that. So the creator, Steve Pickus, he actually like, man, I'm tired of this shit, man. I'm tired of my pillows getting ruined and my bed getting ruined. He's like, well, that's why you use a massage table. Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah. Get off my pillow. I don't want mold on my pillow, especially bacteria mold. Okay. Sometimes it can be. You never know. Here's the whole point. When you learn to channel that, that's what, once again, we're going to talk about Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, sex transmutation, right? If you let that energy build up, that is a very powerful energy. And if you can learn to channel it, okay, and put that energy so that you're utilizing the energy to go after things you want or to breathe it in and to integrate it deeply within you, okay, you're going to have another level of sexual vitality and vitality in general. A lot of times what happens is as soon as fat, all right, boom, all of a sudden, like, we get the all those chemicals released and we get tired. Okay. Now, one of the main things you can do, one of the best things you can do, okay, is you got to learn to semen retention. Okay. Semen retention. And then I don't mean like hold your own semen and don't give it away. Okay. Semen retention has to do with right before you're about to orgasm. Okay. You have your PC muscles down there, and that's the muscles like if you're pissing and you just stop. Okay. It squirts. Okay. It just stops. Okay. Or you got like your gay friend around you and he's like behind you and you're at the urinal, your butt might pucker up a bit, like you're like, oh, so it's one of those things. So you squeeze that muscle like how you would if you stop your pee. Well, you have to strengthen that muscle, okay, if you're going to learn how to do this semen retention. Because what you can do is you can actually ejaculate. You can actually have an orgasm, okay, but channel the energy throughout your body. This is a lot of times like with women or with me, like I have choice when I want to come or when I don't want to come. Okay. And a lot of times like we'll be doing our thing and then I'll just be like, okay, jokefully, of course. Okay. Playfully. I'll be like, all right, that's all you get because they're done. Okay. And I haven't even like exploded yet. But the nice thing about that is like, well, I want you to, because girls always say that, oh, please, please. It's like, it's kind of like they're going after that outcome dependent frame where they don't feel satisfied until you come. And I basically just tell them, I go, hey, I feel super good already. Like there's no level like that. Just me coming is not going to do much for me. In fact, it's actually going to do worse for me because then I'm going to feel tired. All right. And so if I don't do that, then I'm cool. Okay. Especially, unfortunately, for us older gentlemen, ancient men, okay? We're not like we're 17 anymore. We just don't have that refractory retention period where it's right back in there. So you gotta choose your comes wisely, my friend. And these are the things I want to talk to you about is when you're doing this, okay? And it can be a little weird, all right? So let's not frame it that way. It's absolutely normal. And once you have a woman understand what's really going on physiologically with you, it makes sense, okay? You're like, well, if I come, then I'm going to be tired, and then you're probably not going to get any for a little bit unless you're like 17. You may have to wait a little bit. But if I don't, then I'm ready to go when you're ready to go. That's the way it works. And so if we're talking about masturbation, if you haven't really understood how the energy works and how to stop that, you're missing out. Because what happens is you're basically like, okay, say you're jerking off, all right? You're fapping away. And all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm about to come. All right. And actually what I'm going to do at the end of this video, I'm going to actually put a tie-in to one of the bonuses that I give in my Modern Day Sexual Man, where we talk about things like edging and different techniques that you can utilize to have better sex and to learn to control yourself a little bit more. But if you're talking about just masturbating, like the whole trick of masturbating, you want that tension release, all right? And so a lot of people are addicted to that tension release. People are stressed out, so they want to be relaxed and stuff. But when you can do this, what happens is you're doing, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm going to come, and you squeeze that PC muscle, and you go like this. This is going to look a little weird, so just notice. All right, so you're there, all of a sudden you're like, you squeeze that muscle, and you go like this. Like, here's the weird part. You go like, and I'm like, breathing it up. I'm breathing the energy up. So instead of it dissipating and going outwards like this, I'm actually utilizing the energy, and I'm like, by keeping a suction or a vacuum at the lower part of your sphincter or your anus muscle, you're squeezing that, and you're like breathing it up. But you channel that energy through your body, so you revitalize your energy. You get your orgasm, you feel good, and you've rechanneled the energy and the vitality through your body to go be more effective in different things. When you do that, okay, because a lot of guys, this is constant across the board. I wrote about it in my book, Metaphor. The first time when you come with a girl, you're like, oh, you feel this like void, okay? And I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Like, what is that, all right? What is the void? Well, think about this. You're kind of being a dick, okay, with your dick and your hand on your dick. Think about this. Imagine, like, literally you have, I think, the average dose sperm ejaculation, average, okay, is about 180 million sperm. It can go all the way up to like 400 million if you were just like super potent, all right? But that's about the average. Now, think about this. How would you feel? All right, like you're prepping for something and your mind is telling you, hey, you know what, little kids, 180 little million kids, guess what? We're going to Disneyland. They're all excited. They're like, yeah, we're going to Disneyland, right on. Because that's what they want to do. That's like their program. They want to go up there. They want to go to Disneyland. They want to take that ride. They want to get on Space Mountain and have a good old time. Like that's what they're bred to be. So they're like, oh, it's happening. Okay, we're getting in the bus. A whole 180 million of us. We're getting in the bus. You ready? And you're driving and you're driving and you're driving. And all of a sudden, instead of going to the off-ramp of Anaheim, all of a sudden you keep going and you turn right and you end up at the dump yard. All right? And all of a sudden you're like, get out! How do you think? You should feel a little guilty, okay? Like, 180 million little kids that you've just disappointed because their whole thing of growing up was Disneyland, and you took them to the dump and you dropped them off, and that's it. Okay, that's one level. Okay, so first of all, I want to remember, don't disappoint the kids. Like, channel them upwards. So you're like, okay, kids, instead of going to Disneyland, we're going to go inside our bodies and we're going to experience life through me. You're going to become a part of me. You're going to integrate with me, and you're going to be one with the universe. Okay. And it's a little better than the dump, okay, or the cotton towel, or the sheet, or the sock, or where else you're doing this kind of thing at, all right? So it's one of those things. Think about that. And the other thing is, there's a lot of vitality when you ejaculate. Let's just talk about zinc. Okay, zinc's very important for the sex hormones, all right? And you need about 11 milligrams for your daily allowance, okay? Every you do, okay, it takes about 3 milligrams of zinc out of your body, also with your B complex vitamins, your selenium, and a lot of other nutrients. Why? Because all this nourishment is going to create a life force, okay? Like, you're going to give all this nutrients to this thing that's going to create life, okay? That's a lot of energy. And so when you just get rid of it, you're like you take from your body because you're taking from yourself, and you're like giving it to them, and you're like, go little ones, go, be free, go find your little egg and do your thing, all right? But it just goes there, and so you're going to be a little tired afterwards, all right? There's actually pills you can take. One's called like Dawson, I think it's Dawson X, which helps it blocks the I forget which the actual chemical is that makes you tired, okay? Maybe it's I can't remember what it is. I should know that, but it's slipping my mind right now. But you can do something like that, so you don't feel guilty. You don't have that down part of it. And another thing is like, just lay off the guilt, man. Like, we're going to talk a little bit about this too, because I know in India, you guys don't really, like, it's a little different over there sexually. Like, I don't see me opening up a strip club in India. I just don't think it's going to happen. All right. But I know your guys' sexual practices are a little bit differently. Sometimes I get a lot of Indian guys, and they just need to, like, let go of the guilt of what their mommy and papi and society teach them, and be sexual in their own ways. And which reminds me, I actually wrote this down. It was like, I saw this billboard, okay, and it says, billboard, you can't hold God's hand while masturbating. It really said that. Like, who puts up a billboard that says something like that? Then I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, yeah, don't hold my hand while you're masturbating either. And then I started thinking about it more. Well, if God made a man in the likeness of himself, then it's not really you're jacking off, it's God's jacking you off, all right? And this is where you really hope that God's a woman, because it's one of those things. Steve Pickus used to say this a lot. He used to be like, hold up your hand, guys. He used to talk like this. Hold up your hands. Look at your hand. Do you realize that you've had more orgasm with a man's hand on your penis than you probably have with a woman? That's a really sobering thought. But the bottom line is this: you're not out of control. It's just one of these things. You're not used to it. You're not used to the energy. Listen, sexual energy is a very, very powerful energy that moves through your body. All right. So if you can do this, I guarantee you can still get the relaxation and the tension release, okay, and the good energy and the good chemicals that flow through your body by orgasming, but not ejaculating. But it's going to take time. Okay. This is something that is very addicting, okay? Like, coming is very addicting. It's just the way it is, because you're like, and you relax, okay? A lot of people are stressed out. So if you could do that, and you can build and keep your energy, you're not going to have that low where you're like, oh, I just disappointed 180 little kids, million kids. So basically just think about that, because these are important things. So is there any way you can channel, control, harness that energy? You do that, you're going to be able to harness it, control it, and you're going to feel good about it. And guilty afterwards. Hey, we talked about that. Like, hey man, pleasure's pleasure. Okay. If you jerk off, you jerk off, right? Everyone jerks off. A lot of people, most people. Okay. But a lot of people don't talk about it or say it or anything like this. It's just the way it is. You can learn to let it benefit you if you do it right, and you save your energy and you channel it to more productive things, or just a greater vitality for yourself. So I hope this helped to a degree. All right. I want you, like I said, give yourself, and actually watch the video after this so you can talk about a few more things. You can get a little bit better understanding. Remember, if you don't understand a lot of things about sex and you're feeling guilty, educate yourself. Okay, that's what we're here for. I say it over and over and over again. We're made from pleasure, okay, sex, and we were made for pleasure. Look at our sexual senses and the nerve functions. Where are they at? They're on our penises. Because why? Because I think God wanted us to feel good and to pleasure other people and to have good. So do yourself a favor. Go out there. Start channeling your energy. Start being more productive. Start being more engaging with women. Start letting your own energy power itself out into the real world around you. Find yourself a woman so you're not doing all the work, okay? Trust me, it's a lot less work when you're with a woman than it is with yourself. So I'm just going to end with this. I've got to give you a hand for having the balls to do it. No pun intended. Congratulations. All right. We'll see you soon, all right? That was Ask Hypnotica 52. All right, the next thing I'm going to talk about is edging, and this means in masturbation, and it also means in sex. And it's the same idea here to a degree. You're training your dopamine to only want that 8.5 or 9 out of the 10 on the pleasure sensation. So how can simply laying next to a woman be good enough to arouse you if you're always looking for that 8 and 9, and you're always wanting to be at that high peak state right before orgasm? And well, you got to understand, because if you're in that and that's all you really experience, then you're missing so much more. You're missing the pleasure out of the 3% pleasure, or the 4% pleasure, or the 50% pleasure, or moving up the scale, okay? There's a whole dynamic and range that you're missing out on. So when you can enjoy just a light touch on the stomach and really feel pleasurable in that place and in that situation, you're going to widen the ability to enjoy much more pleasure, and your body can respond properly to that. If you just go up there and you're in the 8 and the 9, you're like, this is all the pleasure that I can feel, and this is where it's at, and this is all of it, then you're missing a huge point of it. And that's going to affect you also a little bit later in life, because of the fact that you're training your dopamine really not to be in the full range or the full spectrum. So the next thing I want to talk about is the death grip masturbation. This is where guys really grip tight during masturbation, and they train their minds to require that level of stimulation or tightness. Or it could be a lot of other things too. It could be the speed, or it could be, like I said, the grip, or the fastness that you go. If you're so used to that and you train yourself in that frame, then that's what you're kind of only used to. And so your brain's like, okay, I got this down. You know what? I can get this high level of pleasure in 2 to 3 minutes with this technique and that. And all of a sudden you condition yourself to just coming quickly and getting over it. So it becomes much more of a performance. It becomes much more of a goal-oriented thing instead of a experience. All right. Here you're basically just training your dopamine to require a certain level of tightness that a woman can never provide unless she's got a big manly hand, and you probably don't want that. Okay, so just make sure this is another aspect that you understand, because all of this ties in. Now the next thing is masturbating to porn. Here you're basically wiring your dopamine to only get aroused by perfect models, threesomes, kink, and so on. Stuff that really doesn't exist that often in the real world. It does exist, and I've experienced a lot of it, but I also ran through a point. Let me just tell you a little story. Because I was so used to just having women around me and having sex and stuff like this, I got to the point where I was like, okay, now I need 2 girls and 3 girls, and let's get a little wild. But then what I did is I switched my mindset a little bit, because I was kind of getting like, more, you need more, you need more, you need more, you need more. And I was falling into that trap myself. And so my real life, as far as like women in my life that were outside of the strip club, it was kind of not so much of a turn on to me, because I was trapped in this vicious cycle. So I wasn't really able to understand or to appreciate real life with real women. It's going to be good to understand this, because like I said, a lot of guys can get caught into this, because when you're combining, let's just say, edging and looking at porn for hours a day, it's a cocktail for disaster. And the more you're able to just realize that, hey, you know what? Sometimes women have a little bit of extra fat. Hey, they may have a mole on their ass, okay? But if your body sits down and goes, oh my God, I'm so used to these Photoshop photos or these porns with these filters on them, and this is what I think perfect sex is, it's going to affect the way that you perceive pleasure. And you're going to be looking out in the real world for it, and you're not going to see it, and you probably won't respond well. So be careful how you're conditioning your mind, because watching something on a computer through a filter, all right, is a lot different than being out in the real world. Women are just people, and ultimately our bodies want to respond to the real world, not what we see on some digital screen on your computer. Now, there's other things that can really affect the way that you perceive pleasure as well, and they're things like toys, all right? You got toys like you have the fleshlight, and many say that this toy can actually feel better than real sex, all right? If you're just going for that focus stimulation on your penis and that's all you're concentrating on, instead of using your whole body as an erotic
essential tool. You're just concentrating down there. So you're just like, wow, my God, like you got the coconut oil on there, you got the fleshlight, it's feeling so good. And when you get to real sex, sometimes it's not even a turn on because you've hit this high level of intensity with something that girls' vagina is not going to be slipperier than coconut oil that's warmed up or have the same smoothness as some kind of high grade rubber. All right. So it can change the way that your penis perceives pleasure, and that could also affect the way that you have better sex. Some guys even use vibrators, all right, and they get that extra thing, okay? No tongue is faster than a vibrator. I don't care what you say. So just be careful of these synthetic things that you can buy, these third-party tools, because like I said, it will detract from normal sex and the way that your body should normally respond in regards to women. Think about it. Sometimes these very good lubricants can feel too good, and then sex isn't good after that because it's just like, oh my God, this feels too good, and you come. The other thing you want to think about is not being around real women. If you simply are not around women, if your only source of women is pictures or videos, then your dopamine is going to stop being wired to real women, and you're not going to get really aroused in real life. So the more that you're around women, the more that you can like stop and really concentrate on the way they smile, or the way their hair smells, or the way that their body feels against you. All right, and you're just jerking off to porn and you're only watching digital imagery. When you get around women, your body may not, it may like actually jump the gun and be like, this isn't what I'm looking for because I'm so conditioned to this over here. So it's important to get around real women so that you can have these other experiences, because really that's what it's about. I want to say something about age here as well. If a guy's like 18, he can masturbate a lot and even watch a lot of porn and do all these things that we just mentioned. And you know what? Being at that younger age, your sex drive probably is still going to be fine. Of course, younger guys can still suffer, but they're usually okay. However, if a guy's older, these things are going to compound and be much more severe. And like I said, with natural maturing, and they're eating crappy, and they're watching porn, and they're not exercising, okay, all these things are going to compound. It's going to be much, I don't want to say pun intended here, but much harder, which it's not going to be in the future. So make sure that you understand these basics from the beginning, because it's going to be that much more important to you later on in life. If you walk an easy path early, it's probably going to get harder. If you walk the hard path first and you understand the basic concepts and you train your body to this, then it's going to get easier the more and more you do it. There's one last thing that you need to be aware of, and that is a hormone called prolactin. Now, this is the hormone that causes the refractory period in men. When you orgasm, your prolactin levels increase. Now, this works opposite to dopamine. It decreases your sexual desire, your sex drive, and the sensation. So, simply orgasming can make you feel this way, and you'll see how this is involved in just a second. Like, for example, have you ever been super horny, and you're jerking off, and next thing you know, you come? Are you going to watch another sexual video? For the most part, probably not. If you've ever been with a woman and you come, okay, you're just like, oh, I'm going right back at it. No, it's the prolactin that was released, and it caused your body just to be like, okay, it had the release. And like I said, you got to understand how this works too, because the more that you learn these tools within this program, the more you're going to understand how and when to use prolactin to your advantage, because there are times where maybe you want the release and you want the stress levels to go down and the flood of these chemicals just to relax your body. But if you don't understand that and you simply just blast one off and you know that the prolactin is going to be kicking in, it could really affect the way that you plan your night, the way that you plan your day, the way that you get ready to go on a date. And I don't know if you've ever done this in the past, but maybe you've knew that you were going to go out with a woman earlier and you're just like, you know what, I'm going to watch some porn, and you see some porn and you're like, oh, I'm going to jerk off, and then all of a sudden you jerk off, and then the prolactin goes in your body, and then you go out on the date. You just don't have that same vibe going through you as you would if you didn't do anything at all and your body didn't have that flood of chemicals going through it. So these are just things to be aware of. Like I said, I'm bringing these to your consciousness to understand how all these things tie in. And it's really cool, I think, that I'm being able to do this to you guys, because like I said, years ago, I didn't know what prolactin, I didn't even know about any of this stuff, okay? So the cool thing is you're learning this, you're getting it into your mind, and that's That's going to shortcut things for you, so you're just going to be able to move right away to the pleasure and enjoy the full spectrum of it, okay? So with that said, we're going to talk about solutions, because if I just talk about all the pain and the crap and just tell you what could go wrong, it's probably not going to be that effective. So I want to make sure that we talk about the solutions, all right? These are the things just to be aware of. Now, I'm going to teach you the Hypnotica sex protocol. There are 2 simple steps. There's one behavior to stop, and there's one new behavior to start doing. Step 1, stop masturbating, especially to porn. Just stop masturbating to porn altogether. If you do this, that's going to take a big part of what we're talking about out. Don't tease yourself. Don't tempt yourself. Just let this process take place, all right? And if you can't stop right away, which you should, okay, if you're going to do this program, if you really want to do it successfully, stop completely. But if you can't stop right away, at least lower the frequency with a goal of you stopping altogether. And definitely don't use the edging technique. And definitely don't watch porn for hours a day. Any porn in masturbation is screwing up your dopamine neurology. So you need to decrease how many times you do it or stop altogether so that you understand this and you reset your body to release dopamine in a healthy way so that you can become the most sexual man possible. This is super, super important. So I'm going to move to step 2 now. And step 2 is basically just a simple shift in the way that you have sex. You ready for it? Slow down. Enjoy the low levels of pleasure. Enjoy levels of pleasure around 5 or 6 out of 10. And that means enjoy the little things instead of just the vagina or the nipple. Enjoy her neck, enjoy her thigh, enjoy taking your cock and dragging it all up and down her body or playing dot to dot from her moles on her back. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter, okay? I'm just making a point. Just make sure you don't want to edge. And basically what we're going to talk about again, I'm going to reinforce it, and that's you don't want to go into that realm of 8.5 to 9 all the time. You don't want to condition yourself to need this, all right? Now, if you are going to orgasm, you can utilize what I call the suck up the orgasm technique. And this is what you've learned in Modern Day Sexual Man. It's also in there. But like I said, if you learn this process and you learn to control your orgasm and not ejaculate, you're not going to have that release of prolactin. So the ability to breathe it up when you're orgasming, and take that energy, which normally you would be dissipating out of the end of your dick, and basically rechanneling it so that your body uses all the nutrients that would have really gone out and into the world or into her or into your sock or wherever it is, but it's going to channel it inside so that you can really take that energy and be much more vital with it. The other technique is refrain from orgasming altogether. Just keep your sexual energy. I can't tell you how many times women are like, oh, I want you to come. And I'm like, look, I want you to understand something. I can come anytime I want. And the healthier you feel and the better your energy is and the more sexual you are, you'll realize that you don't really look for the peak states of pleasure because the whole thing is pleasurable. And you're not just like, okay, like I said, I have this little frame up here. It's the 8 and 9. That's where the pleasure is. No, like I am a sexual being. So sometimes I can be fucking her and all of a sudden I'm just like, okay, that's all you get. And she's like, but I came so many times and I want you to come. And I'm like, I don't need to come. I already feel good. I'm just adding to my reservoir of pleasure. So maybe in a month, maybe it could be a couple days, when I do choose to orgasm, it's on my terms. I'm not just seeking the orgasm, I'm enjoying the pleasure. So that's very, very important that you keep your sexual energy and don't feel like you have to give it away. And girls will bitch at this. I'll tell you right now, they'll be like, oh, I don't feel satisfied. I'm not happy that you didn't come. You're like, hey, I need to teach you something, okay? Sex just isn't in this little realm for me. I'm enjoying the whole thing. So you get to educate women on this and say, no, I'm not going to come. And you know what? I go, I'll tell you what, I'll come in 3 times from now. All right. And they're like, okay, you promise me? Yeah, I promise you. Okay. And when I do, it's going to be ridiculous. I'm like, you don't want the normal cum. You want like the holy shit cum, right? And she's like, oh, okay, cool. So you can talk your way into that and talk your way out of it or however you want to do it. Just understand that that's important. Another thing you can do is have sex for just 10 minutes and then just take a break. All right. Don't reach orgasm. Just stop. pull out, and there's lots of other things you could do with that, all right? I love these little games because it takes it out of just being something that's casual, that is contrived, that's automatic, that's robotic, all right? There's lots of other things you can do too, and you can also have sex for hours this way. If you just fuck her for 10 minutes, slowly, and then pull out, and you say, okay, in 1 hour I'll do it again. This is basically going to give her a different kind of experience, and it's going to completely restore your dopamine levels and keep your sex drive high. I've even done it like this before, and I have to be honest with you, it can make women on edge a little bit. So if she comes over, you just grab her, you pull down her panties, you stick your cock in her, and you just count to 10, and then you pull it out. That's all you get. And then 5 minutes later, she's like walking by all mad at you because you did that, and you grab her and you pull down her panties and you fuck her for 15 seconds, and you say that's all you get. Imagine if you did that all day. How powerful would her orgasm, and how horny, or I gotta tell you, maybe a little annoyed at you at the end of the day, but when she does come, she's gonna come extremely powerfully. So I want you to understand this, because you're enjoying yourself and you're not depleting your dopamine levels. So the bottom line is this: keep your sex energy high. Now, before we finish, I want to tell you about 2 great supplements that you can take to help you get hard, like right now. I want to make sure that you get some material that you can go out there and just use, because you did get a bonus with Modern Day Sexual Man called the Sex Drive Diet, and that has a lot about these things in this topic. So check that out when you get the chance, because there's a lot of really good information in there for you. But right now, here are the 2 super important supplements that I can highly recommend. And the first is called citrulline malate, and it's found naturally in watermelons. You can also get it through supplement on Amazon, and you want to make sure that you get the 2-to-1 ratio stuff. You want to make sure that it's potent for it to really work. When you do get it, make sure you take 3 to 6 grams on the day that you need it. Take it in the morning, and if you even take it like 3 or 4 days in a row, you're also going to notice excellent results because it's going to compound a little bit. So that's really the first supplement. And I talk about it more in the Sex Drive Diet, but right now this is something that you can do. I guarantee that it works. It's good. You're going to enjoy it. Now, the second is called pycnogenol, which is basically pine bark extract. It's a little bit more expensive than the citrulline, and in my opinion, not quite as effective, but it is still very, very good. If you take 200 to 400 milligrams on the day that you need it, it's going to work wonderful for you. These are just 2 of the things that I think that every man should have. If you spend a little money, great. That's the way it is, because you know what? Sex is important, and just to know that you put a little investment into having superior sex is going to be good for you, and you're prepared in case anything happens, whether it's you got stuff on your mind, you had a stressful day, maybe she's a little stressed out, she can't relax. You want to make sure your little member down there between your legs, or your big member, however you want to perceive it, okay, is going to be there working in your best interest. So I want to make sure you understand that these things are both important for you. And the reason why they work is because they boost nitric oxide levels. Nitric oxide levels, and I get more into it in the Sex Drive Diet, are super important, okay? It's a vasodilator that helps blood get to all parts of your body. If you don't have that, then you're going to have a little bit of problem, all right? So in conclusion, all right, you've got everything you need to have a strong foundation of performance. But there's one thing I want to say. I've been using the word performance to a degree because we're using it in a way that is understandable. But I want to also make sure that you understand this is an experience. The more you think of it as an experience, all right, the more you're going to enjoy it. The performance level is just like you're optimal, you're primed, but the experience is you being in the moment with her, having all these wonderful situations, having your body respond powerfully, and you're going to enjoy all this. So these are things that I just wanted to let you know, because I want to make sure that you understand and you're holistic in your experience of sex and things like this. And I don't want you to get hooked up on the word performance. And remember, you're also going to find way more information about this in the module 1 called Getting Your Head Right, and module 8, Penis Performance. And then you can look at modules 2 through 7 to learn about all my sexual techniques as well, which you're not going to learn anywhere else. You're going to be one of a kind. Women are going to talk about you. It's going to be great. Once again, I just want to congratulate you on investing in Modern Day Sexual Man. You made a great investment, one that you're going to have this knowledge for the rest of your life. You are going to become a powerful sexual man from this moment on. Absolutely enjoy.